Reminder that a half hour from now, 2 members of the Fab Five will be live on our air. Jalen Rose will be live with Juwan Howard, the new head coach at Michigan. Don't miss it. A little after 9 Eastern this morning, right here. Meanwhile, back to game 1 last night, and one of the big storylines was the Warriors' inability to get anything going in transition and what that would lead to on the other end. Klay Thompson, no good. Look how quickly Toronto gets the ball up the floor, and Danny Green. This is now second quarter action, and watch another similar situation. Steph gets to the rim, nothing there. Look how quickly they get the ball up. Here's Kawhi Leonard, of course, can lead the break. Will ultimately find Gasol trailing, and he takes it in for the easy layup. More of the same in the fourth. Again, bad Warriors transition defense, and it starts with how quickly Toronto gets the ball moving. Look, after the rebound, boom, off they go. And they're running up the floor. Siakam, look at this nice dish. Danny Green knocking down the three. In the end, it's Toronto taking game 1. Golden State losing a good opportunity.
Biggest thing for me was our transition defense was just awful. And that's the game. That's the number one priority when you play Toronto. You have to take care of their transition, and we gave up 24 fast break points. We turned it over 17 times, so that's the game, really.
We'll have to get back on defense next game and really limit their transition points, make them beat us in the half court. Yeah, we did a good job limiting Kawhi, but it's not Kawhi Leonard, and it's the Raptors, so we'll go back to the drawing board and see what we can do better for Sunday.
But this is a remarkable number. The Warriors failed to make a single transition 3 in game 1. They only took 1. That was a strength in their previous 2 final series, going 30 for 62 on those attempts. And as I bring Tim Legler into the conversation from up in Bristol, you know, it's ironic because going into this, we were all thinking Toronto needs to slow the pace down and not get into an up and down game. And it was the Raptors who exploited Golden State defensively in transition. Timmy Legg, show us how they did that.
Yeah, you saw a couple of these plays in the highlight, but now you're going to see exactly where the breakdowns come from and why this is fixable, because to me, this does allude to rust a little bit, lack of communication, where you have some breakdowns. And the 24 fast break points don't even take into account the secondary offense. And that's where I think Toronto got some as well. Now, here's what I'm talking about, communication breakdown. As you're getting back, you're in pretty good place here. Iguodala runs to get ahead of the ball, and Kawhi Leonard is handling it right here. Klay Thompson now is looking at this outside wing guy, and he's saying, okay, I'm going to be here to provide help if Kawhi goes by, but ultimately I'll fan out here. You've got another guy, Siakam, who ran ahead. He's getting to the corner. So the same thing for Draymond. He's going to provide help in case there's a breakdown on Kawhi, but ultimately he knows if the ball goes here to the corner, I've got shooters. So let's focus on this guy. You're big running down the middle of the floor. If you're Kevon Looney, there's no reason to run over here and crowd this area because you end up causing a lot of confusion. He should be running to the paint. And I'm going to show you why that's a big deal in a second. Here's what happens. Instead, he runs over now to Andre Iguodala. So for all intents and purposes, Looney picks up Kawhi now. So Iguodala bumps over to Kyle Lowry. Well, look at Klay Thompson. He's completely now, because of this miscommunication, in no man's land. As Siakam clears out, you're going to have Draymond wary of him. And now I said, why was it important that Looney be back in the middle of the lane? Well, here's why. Here comes Marc Gasol right down the middle of the lane, and there's no one there to pick him up. And this is just an easy play for Kyle Lowry. You hit your 7-footer, he gets right to the rim. Get back, get an easy 2 points when Golden State looked like they were in good shape. This one's even more egregious. Ball comes off the rim, and when you rebound the ball and you have 9 players ahead of you, there's no way you should get something easy this quickly up the floor. But again, it's miscommunication, and you can see where it is right here. Klay Thompson is running over to this area of the floor because he's already looking at Kawhi running up the floor. He says, that's my guy. Here comes Fred VanVleet running in. Well, Steph Curry is identifying that's going to be my guy. Well, then what exactly is Sean Livingston accomplishing by jogging up the same side of the floor? He needs to be over here to pick up the ball, because instead what you're going to do is you have Draymond Green back here playing 2 guys. He stops penetration, and again, easy pitch and catch basketball. Golden State looked like they should have been in good shape. Instead, you give up an easy 3. I just don't think they were prepared for that initial push up the floor that Toronto gave them repeatedly throughout the game.
So many things that surprised me about that game last night. Like, so well done. Thank you. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you Monday after game 2. In the meantime, let's take another look at some of the things that we saw last night. The Raptors now 3-0 against the Warriors this year. They become the 4th team to beat the Steve Kerr Warriors 3 straight times. The only one to do it 4 straight, LeBron James Cavs, otherwise known as Richard Jefferson's Cavs. Meanwhile, the Raptors defense harassed Golden State all night long. The Warriors shot just 23% on contested shots, their worst mark in any playoff game under Kerr. And the Warriors' loss snaps a record 12-game winning streak in game ones. But no reason to panic. All 4 times the Warriors have trailed in a playoff series under Steve Kerr, they have come back to win. And look, our desk runneth over. We have added Zach Lowe to our conversation here. Delighted to see you as always, Zach. So I'm going to open exactly where I opened with these guys. If I'd said to you yesterday when you were here, Steph and Clay are going to score 55, Draymond Green is going to have a triple-double, and Kawhi Leonard is only going to make 5 shots, and Toronto was going to win the game, you would never have believed me. So how did this happen last night?
Their defense was phenomenal. To me, the number one takeaway is their defense. And Golden State is, obviously, everyone knows, really, really hard to defend. You have to be able to switch. You have to be able to help. You have to be able to know which of those to do and when. And I thought they lived sort of in that in-between area where you're doing everything at the same time really, really well. The communication was on point. They actually didn't switch as much as I thought they were going to do. They trapped and they helped off the right guys. When Steph would run around and relocate, somebody was chasing him almost all the time. It was a really nice performance by them.
And part of it is just they have good defenders. I mean, and Seth Greenberg has been the one who has been hammering me with text on this, that I have been overlooking just how good individual defenders the Raptors have.
It's great individual defenders. It's a great team defense, but again, you got to give credit to individuals that have played against them before in the postseason, right? When we talk about Serge Ibaka, when we talk about Danny Green, when we talk about Kawhi Leonard, those guys that have experience playing against the Warriors, they understand that this is not close enough. This is close enough. And it's like, if you don't play against these guys often, was that close enough?
Yeah,
was my breath as bad as he was saying?
No, it's delightful.
Thank you. That's all that matters, right? But when you're playing against guys and it's that intense, you have to understand the difference between good defense and great defense.
Did it change your perspective at all, Zach, on just how much the Warriors might need Kevin Durant to win this series?
Not really. I mean, I picked the Warriors in 7. That sort of factored in the idea that he would come back at some point mid to late in the series. The Raptors are really good. I thought this was going to be a tough series for them. Obviously, long layoff for the Warriors. Raptors are at home. Like, that shapes up as a game one they should get.
Here's one thing I don't think fans recognize. When you're playing against Steph and Clay that have perpetual motion all the time, the attention to detail and the conditioning that you need at the highest level in the NBA Finals in order to tag those guys 24/7, that's tolling. That's taxing.
It's not fun.
So you have to be able to sustain that. And that's going to be the biggest question for them. If you have Kawhi's health, you have guys being tired, quick turnarounds, sustaining that level is difficult.
There are no very quick turnarounds in the finals anymore. This is one of the shorter layoffs they will have between games here. It goes Thursday to Sunday night. Game 2 is Sunday night in Toronto before they travel. Now, one other thing I wanted to get in here while I have Zach. In addition to last night's game, there was some relatively significant breaking news yesterday in the NBA, and it came from our insider Adrian Wojnarowski, who reported that contract talks between the Rockets and head coach Mike D'Antoni have broken down. That means that D'Antoni will be coaching this coming season in a walk year. And for those who haven't been following, they have dismissed all of his assistants. They have basically come out and told the world, in not so many words, that practically every player on their roster is available for trade. It comes on the heels of the owner referring to this year's loss to the Warriors as being unacceptable. So what gives here, Zach Lowe in Houston?
This is getting a little weird. This is like a lot of stuff for a team that all they did was lose to the Warriors, who beat everybody every year. I mean, it's not like they had some colossal failure. Now, should they have won Game 6 at home? Yes, that was a bad loss. But this is getting a little strange. And a coach of his status in a lame duck year, it just feels like it's not going to end well.
Yeah, but Zach, when we look at some of their bad losses, they're really, really bad. No Kawhi versus, in San Antonio when they lost against Houston, right? The injury last year, you'll kind of give that to them. But this year, to lose to the Warriors the way you did when they had a big-time injury, and then really to come out and not fight, yes, you might have a coach that's good enough to get you there, and it's very similar to the Nick Nurse situation. You might want to find a different voice because you feel like you have enough talent.
I was saying it before that, them moving all their personnel, but saying that, hey, we want to stick with the strategy. I actually think the strategy can somewhat work, but you need your best player to be invested all the time.
And that's James Harden.
That's James Harden.
And he's not.
I'm not saying he's not from a scoring threat, because he's one of the best scorers we've ever seen, but there are times where we just see him stand at the top of the key, or other times where we just see him, you need everybody to buy into it.
Yeah, this was a point that was made yesterday. Jalen did a nice job of showing how sometimes James Harden, when he's not directly involved, seems as though
He
he's
just
not
kicks
involved
it
at
on the
all.
court.
That's
He just
always.
kicks it.
This is how they play. It's how Russell Westbrook plays. It's how John Wall plays. It's a lot of ball dominant guys play that way. My point is,
But none of those guys have won championships.
no, it's fair, okay. But Tillman Fertitta, the new owner, really talks a big game, like unacceptable. We're going to win championships when James is here. My point with all these shakeups, and this is like big talking shakeups. Like we're changing. You got to have a plan B. You got to have what's the actual plan other than we're just going to shake things up and scare people and make a big show of it? What's the plan? If Mike's not going to be the coach, who's going to be the coach 2 years from now? Do you have a plan?
And are you going to build it around James Harden? And if so, how much better can you do than they have done, taking it that distance? We have a huge hour coming your way. I also want to remind you our next WNBA game is on ESPN2, and it's tonight at 10 Eastern when the Mercury host the Las Vegas Aces. You can watch it live on the ESPN app, no matter where you may be. In addition to more coverage of the NBA Finals game just minutes away, this should be really fun and special. New Michigan coach Juwan Howard reunited with our Jalen Rose. They'll be live together about 15 minutes from right now. Stay with us. Get Up on ESPN.